Hey there. I hope that you are having a great week. My name is Celeste, if we haven't formally met, and thank you for coming in and watching this week's kind of accountability video of my first week in the Pantry Challenge. I am doing the Three Rivers Pantry Challenge for the month of January, and I will link my other video here where I talked about how I'm doing this, my rules for it, and how I kind of prepared for this entire month. So this is the first week of the Pantry Challenge. January, I'm looking at my calendar here, 2nd through the 6th is what I'm going to talk about today. We had already made plans for January the 1st, and when I decided to do this Pantry Challenge, so I did not include that this week. So I'm going to talk about what I made every day, if I had to go to the grocery store, and if so, how much I spent, and then also some pros and some struggles that I had this week. So let's move right into it. Before I began the week, I actually did a meal plan for the week here. This is something that I had for quite some time. If I can find where I purchased this, I'll be glad to link it in the description below. But it's a dry erase little menu. So Monday, we had pork chops, scalloped potatoes, and sauteed green beans. And I'll pop that picture of my plate up here. And how I did the pork chops is that I used the Dale seasoning sauce that I had in our refrigerator and Everglades seasoning. Oh my goodness, if you have never tried that, it is absolutely wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You can use it on fish, excuse me, you can use it on chicken, you can use it on pork. And what I did is I just took a Ziploc bag, poured about a half a cup to 2/3 cups of the Dale sauce in there with the pork chops. And these were 2 pork chops, very thick cut from Costco. And then I just sprinkled this on each side of the pork chops, and then closed it and let it kind of, really get all the juices in there, marinades, what I'm trying to say, for a couple hours. And oh my goodness, we put them on the grill and they were absolutely delicious. And then the scalloped potatoes, I just used up my milk and I had a little bit of a flair to it. I had some Parmesan cheese that I needed to use up in our refrigerator. So before I put the second layer of potatoes on there, I put the cheese on it, and it was wonderful, wonderful. The sauteed green beans, I kind of did a little bit different. Usually I put crumbled up fried bacon on top of it, but we didn't have any. But I did have some bacon fat that I had saved. This is the first time that I've ever saved bacon fat. I watched another YouTuber and they showed kind of how they use it for different things. So I thought, well, I'll just try it for this recipe, and it was good. It was good. So day 1, Monday, was a success. The scalloped potatoes are the only thing that took, a little longer, but I was off that day, so it made it very reasonable to do. So moving on to Tuesday, I'm going to show you actually how I put my Tuesday meal together. I made a Mexican lasagna. So let's go in. So I'm browning up the meat. You can also use ground chicken, ground turkey if you prefer that, or if you have that in your freezer for this meal. This recipe also calls for an onion, a bell pepper, a cream of mushroom soup, some evaporated milk, a can of Rotel tomatoes, corn tortillas, but I'm allergic to corn, so I have some street taco flour tortillas that we used up or used to make tacos last week, and I want to use those up before they go stale. I don't have the Rotel, so I'm going to take this can or jar of salsa. My husband doesn't like how chunky it is, so in a minute we're going to blend that up. I don't have the evaporated milk, so we're going to use a little bit of milk that I have in the refrigerator to substitute for that. And then we do have grated cheese. So I don't have an onion. I'm going to use onion powder And then I do have some bell peppers from my summer garden in the freezer that I will dice up here in a few minutes. But we're just getting this browned up here. And while that's doing, let's go over and puree this mild salsa. Gonna pour it back in the jar, and that way he can use it with his chips. I probably should have gotten a funnel. Oh well. Yeah, I'm not able to have any kind of corn. In fact, if he eats corn, then he has to make sure he really washes his hands, and he can't even kiss me after having corn or chocolate. Develop those two allergies as an adult. So we've got this all pureed, so we're going to use that instead of the Rotel in the recipe. I'm also preheating the oven to 300, so we will have that ready. And it sounds like that our ground beef is doing a nice job. So we had quiche this morning, didn't have time to even clean up after that. So we're going to be doing dishes tonight, just keeping it real here. I don't like to go too quickly on the ground beef because it tends to burn quickly, and I don't like that in our Mexican lasagna. So I cut my flour tortillas and use corn tortillas into about fifths or sixths, and I've lined the bottom. Sometimes I layer mine a little bit because I don't like the white areas in between them, and then we're going to put some of that, some of this on here as soon as we add the cream of mushroom soup, add the ground beef. So in here, we're going to add our cream of mushroom soup. Then we're going to add a little bit of this salsa or Rotel, a little bit of milk. And that will kind of be our sauce, our meat sauce. So let me get all that added to our mixture here. So I've added the cream of mushroom. I added what I kind of guesstimated being 10 ounces of the mild salsa. And since we have the salsa in here, I only went with a half a teaspoon of that Costco taco seasoning. The recipe does not call for it. We just kind of added that little flair to ourselves for our own recipe. But this is a great way for me to use up my cream of mushroom soup, because as I was doing my pantry inventory, I noticed that I had 8 cans of it. And so this was a great recipe to kind of use that up. And also, this will produce leftovers for my husband and myself, because tomorrow night, Wednesday night, is our long night at church. And so we usually don't get home until 9 or 10 o'clock sometimes if we have meetings. And then we're scrambling for something, and this will be a great leftover meal. We can just warm it up and have that when we get home and not have to go through a drive-through. So this is really coming together very nicely. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit and kind of let it simmer for a little bit while I get the cheese out of the refrigerator. Yeah. I'm making a thin layer. Now my pan here, casserole dish, is a little bit bigger than 13 by 9. That would be the ideal one, but we have something else in that. And then you're going to sprinkle some cheese. Now the original recipe calls for like 1.5 cups of grated cheese, I really don't measure it out because I like it really cheesy. So we're gonna just kind of sprinkle it here. And then after we get this all layered with cheese, we're gonna repeat the process by putting some more flour tortillas on top of this, and then repeating with the meat mixture and the cheese. So you can make it as cheesy as you want, or you can not have as much cheese, but we like it pretty cheesy. Now I freshly grated this last week. We were given one of those little gift packs that has like the summer sausage and cheese, and so I just went ahead and grated that up with my food processor. I find that just has a better quality and texture than the pre-grated cheese in the stores. And this is what we had in our refrigerator. So we are gonna keep this up. I don't have as much cheese as I thought, so it won't be as cheesy. And then I just layer this again. I usually use these round pieces for the edges here. And over there. And then just kind of layer it. I realized that I forgot to put the milk that I wanted to use in the recipe. It didn't affect the taste, obviously, because it was very good, but it would have been a little bit more creamier had I remembered to add that milk. So we had that Wednesday, and then we even had some leftover that I am going to be freezing and using it for a future meal. When we come home really late from work, I can just pop that out and defrost it, and then we can warm it up. My Mexican lasagna, and my husband likes to add the taco sauce on it, and so we had both of those, so we just added that for a little bit of punch for the Mexican lasagna. So it's just one of those great recipes. So Thursday, we had leftover scalloped potatoes from Monday's meal that we ate up. And then also we had some chicken wings and then a green salad. And so I'll pop that picture up here. The lettuce is the only thing, believe it or not, that I purchased this week. One of my rules was that I was gonna, have an exception to purchasing fresh produce and dairy products. And so I went and purchased a head of lettuce for our salad. I didn't have cheese and I didn't have croutons, but I had homemade buttermilk ranch dressing that I made. And then also I had some Thousand Island that I had purchased a couple of months ago that was still good. So that's what we had for dinner for Thursday night. It was a great way just to use up those scalloped potatoes that I used on Monday. And then Friday is our date night. And so that's another one of my rule exceptions, is that we're gonna continue to do that because we were very blessed with many wonderful restaurant gift cards for Christmas. And so we are using those tonight to go and choose a restaurant of our choice. So in week 2, I will include Saturday through the following Friday to give you an update of that. So let's talk about the pros and some of the struggles that I had this week. Pros is that I love not going to the grocery store. I only spent $2.99 for that head of lettuce. That's a little bit more than a few years ago for a head of lettuce, but I only spent $2.99, and my weekly budget that I typically spend is about $60 to $65 for 2 of us. So I saved, if we round that up to $3, let's just say I saved about from $57 to $62 this week. So that was a win. I'm very thankful for that. Another pro is that I had to kind of get out of the rut that I was in. I didn't realize that I was in a rut and had to think more creatively. In fact, every night this week, my husband said, "We haven't had this in forever. How come we haven't had this forever?" And so just a reminder that I had gotten in a rut around the holidays and trying to put our home here together that we moved into. And it's just real easy just to kind of do the same thing week after week after week with very little variation. And so it was a great way for me to kind of think outside the box with that. Another pro is that I am tempted with those BOGO deals at Publix. And so this week they had a BOGO deal for taco shells. And through my little pantry inventory that I showed in my last video, I realized that I already had 3 boxes in my pantry, and those would last us for 6 months because I can't have corn. I'm allergic to it, and my husband loves those corn shells. And so I thought 6 months, I have enough time, and by the time that it comes around again for a BOGO, then I may need them, but I don't need them right now. I'm completely content and I have what we need. So that was a plus. And then another pro is that I realized I had 8 cans of cream of mushroom soup. Who needs that many? So I'm trying to think of different recipes to incorporate each and every week to kind of use those up before they expire as well. So it was a really good week for my first week of the Pantry Challenge. Some struggles is that Tuesday when I first started back to work, I was exhausted when I came home to do that Mexican lasagna. In fact, I think I referenced that I had a migraine and I was just tired. And it would have been really, really easy to go through a drive-through or order some pizza, but I didn't do it. I was committed. You were my accountability, so thank you for that and encouragement. And so I wanted to keep on the challenge, the promise that I made to myself and to you to keep going. And then another struggle is just taking the time to put together a weekly menu. And I used to do that a couple of years ago. I was very, very, particular and did that very well. And through the course of our move, I just got really lax in it. So that was kind of a struggle within myself to keep going. So great first week overall. I'm really thankful for this challenge that Three Rivers has encouraged all of us to participate in. And if you are participating, comment below. Tell me about your week. I would love to hear about that. And if you have a video, share it as well, because I would like to glean some other fun recipes that maybe I can use up those cream of mushroom soups cans pretty soon. So thank you so much for tuning in. If this was helpful to you, I would appreciate you giving me a like and click that notification bell so you are told when the next video. You're my accountability group. I need you for week 2 of this challenge. So until next time, have a great day.